Okay, so let's say we want to make something with something that would affect the character's speed or ability to drive. Now, let's do that. So we're going to make ice. We're going to make like a little ice patch, and that might affect the speed or maybe the handling of the car. And we'll go through and we'll have a look at how we're going to do that then. So let's create a new blueprint. And I'm just going to call it the type actor ice patch. I don't know why it's all in caps, but hey ho. Let's open that up. So my ice patch is going to be made of this just very quick material. It's just a mask, really. And so let's grab a plane. Let's put that plane in there. Let's get my ice material. Okay, let me drop it there. Let's drop it here. Okay, ice patch. Nice and simple, you know, maybe make yours look a little bit nicer, but that'll do. And now we've got this plane. Let's also add a box collision. Box collision. Sweet, box collision. And maybe we'll probably want to make this a little bit bigger. So let's just say 5. Big ol' massive ice patch. It's probably too big. BPs. Let's have a look. You know what? That's not actually too bad. I might even go bigger. So let's go a little bit bigger. Let's actually go 8. Oops. 8. There we go. Probably do a little bit of transparency actually. No, let's forget the material. Anyway, so now we've got this box. And like we'd expect, we're going to, first of all, let's actually disable any collision on the plane. And let's go to our box and let's do a begin overlap. So we know in this game, if I click my character, you can see we are using the pawn. So for this, let's just say pawn, cast to cart pawn, cart pawn. Now with the cart pawn, so once we've done this, let's just, I always like to, it's always good to stick a do once in there. With the cart pawn, the cart actually, if we open it up, if we move this window out of the way and we open it up, the cart itself doesn't have much of anything. You know, like we're looking at its variables, looking at its script. There's not really much of anything. And we've got this forward axis. We can always, if you wanted to, you can always sort of like put, you know, like a multiplier on this and then set a variable. So, for example, let's just do a float, and then we'll set that float to a variable, and then, yeah, we could sort of set the speed, set the variable, make sure that's got a default value of 1. I'll just stick it to 1. So we could pawn speed. So that controls the input. So as long as that's a 1, that'll always be fine. But let's say we want to do something a little bit more advanced than that. So let's go back to the BPs themselves, the blueprints. The pawn actually inherits from the pawn base. So this is where all the good stuff is. And we can see we've got like steering, throttle control. I mean, really, there's a few things that depreciate and stuff. But really, if we scroll down these variables and just have a look at some of the stuff in here. So max speed, there's our max speed value. We could directly edit that. Acceleration, we've got an acceleration 1500. Gravity, steering torque, max steer angle, max speed boost, anti-slide. Ooh, anti-slide, we're doing nice. Let's mess with that one. And really, like I say, you could edit any of these. So once we've actually casted the character, we will need to cast to the player pawn. Or what we can do is we can just do a quick get all actors of class. It's only going to work because it's sort of just a single player game. Otherwise, we need to be specific. Get pawn base. Like I say, because at the moment there's only the one character in here. We can just leave this at 0. Otherwise, we need to figure out which one that relates to. But anyway, what we could do now is let's get what was it called? The slip, anti-slip, was it? Anti-slide. And let's just do a test before and after. Let's times that by, I don't know, 4. 4 should be a good visual barometer. And let's set anti-slide. So, and you know what, let's just do a print string just to make sure we know it works. Okay, so now if we go ahead and press play, this is my sort of turning, that's sort of like my turning circle. Oop. If we didn't collide with the bloody thing, we'll have a look at turning that off soon. So that's my turning circle, nice and sort of wide, reasonable. Let's go through here, we see the hello, and now turning circles wider, but does it feel noticeably? Not really. Let's, instead of using anti-slide then, let's change, so we change the steering torque. Let's have a look. So we've got current throttle, convert horizontal speed, min speed to steer. Yeah, let's do steering torque. That might give us more of a fun thing to mess with. So again, we'll just get steering torque. And you do this for, like, say, any speed or any of the other variables that are in there. It'd be the same thing. So set steering torque. And let's actually do higher than 4 just for the sake of test. Let's do 8. That should be a lot more noticeable. Alright, so we've got nice reasonable movement. Oh, and then you can immediately, I mean, that's so much more obvious. You can immediately see that while we'd be on the ice, if we even try to turn, it is just going to not be happy about it. So 8 is obviously way too high of a number, but let's sort of just set that, I guess, back down to 4. And then what you do is, I guess, either on a delay, or maybe, you know, we could click our box again, and we could say when it ends overlap, because this is quite big, we just more or less do the same thing, really. I'm just going to copy all you guys, bring it down here. When it ends overlap with the cart, let's do once. I mean, you probably don't want to do this sort of every time, but we'd rather do not want to do once, but you just sort of establish this somewhere in your instance. But yeah, let's, instead of times it by 4, we just divide it by 4. Sorry, you'd want to do it once per race, not every time. But hey ho. So that'll give us back to our default value. Otherwise, we could just, memorize what the default value is supposed to be and enter it back in there by checking our pawn base. And it's got a steering torque of 6 at the moment. So, we just, if we remembered what it was, we could just put that back in. But it's probably more efficient to do this in case we end up changing those values at some point. So, good, nice and easy. And then, whoop. So, steering's pretty crazy when we're in there. Oh, I actually just got stuck in there for a little bit. Alright, now we're out, we're fine. So, we could do a variety of different things. Like I say, it's all about casting to that pawn base. And, you know what? Is this thing got collision on it? I'll turn it off. I'm getting distracted, getting stuck in the weeds of things. It's not. But there you go. That's how you would do things that affect the player's control. And should be fairly straightforward. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I say, because in the player itself, we don't have much, unless, we wanted to affect that, which we could also do the same thing for this one. But really, all the good stuff is on the pawn base. So we do the initial collision, just check with the pawn because that's the one that we've put in our level. And then after that, we need to speak to the pawn base, and this is how we speak to the pawn base. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully that's useful.